Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Synergy Traders Friendsgiving 2021 conference. My name is David Kosmeter. I'm the creator of TimingResearch.com, and this event is a partnership between myself and Anka Metcalf of TradeOutLoud.com. And so we have set up a 36 presentation event for you this week. So we're going to be going, we have 6 presentations today, starting with John in a couple minutes here, and then 10 presentations on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So that'll be 10 a.m. Eastern time until 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, and you can always access those right on TimingResearch.com/live. So yeah, so just a reminder that trading is risky and is not right for everyone. Please consult your broker and your financial advisor, and you can see the full disclaimer at TimingResearch.com/policies. And so first up, we have John Thomas of the Mad Hedge Fund Trader, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him.
I didn't know trading was risky. When did that happen?
Yeah.
I guess it depends on who's doing the trading.
Yeah.
Anyway, David, great to see you last week. Always nice to get in touch.
John and I got a chance to catch up in Vegas last week. So
I know
it was great.
I think you were my first in-person business contact in 2 years.
Yeah.
Humans still exist, it turns out. They're not all figments of the metaverse.
Yeah, Vegas 2 years ago was the last time I had been to any industry events as well. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah, it was nice.
Okay, well, let's help people get in on the Bitcoin bull market and learn the art of digital gold trading. This is the investment opportunity of the century. It is a rapidly evolving global digital currency that will dominate the future of finance. And if you don't start learning about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies right now, you won't be able to understand the news anymore. I mean, it's that dramatic. It seems like a third of all financial news now is about the evolution of Bitcoin or stories about how much money they made. And I'm happy to say I am one of those people. So what is the Bitcoin bet? If you're buying Bitcoin, what are you getting yourself into? What are you hoping will happen? Well, it's really very simple. You are betting that inflation will rise, that governments will keep printing money all over the world, that technology will keep accelerating, and that more individuals and institutions will keep pouring into Bitcoin. Those are 4 bets I am very happy to make. In fact, I'm happy to bet the ranch on all 4 of these trends continuing for the rest of the decade. So Bitcoin is my trade, and full disclosure, I put $1 million into Bitcoin in July, and it is now worth $2 million. So that kind of also encourages one to move into Bitcoin. I have to tell you, though, I have an unfair advantage. I am a Bitcoin miner. I have access to the entire Bitcoin network, and I am allowed to vote on changes in the makeup of the original Bitcoin code. So it has been a great experience, I have to tell you. So you need to get in on the greatest financial revolution of our time. It's not too late. You can still get in on the ground floor. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are taking over the financial system. Bitcoin is becoming an essential part of every investment and trading portfolio. Bitcoin is the only safe haven from the coming inflation wave, and the print we got last week shows that we're running at a 6.2% inflation rate. That is a 30-year high. Bitcoin will protect you against the imminent collapse of the US dollar that will result from massive government borrowing. Bitcoin is also a bet on the endless growth of monetary expansion and government spending. Learn everything you need to become a serious Bitcoin player as fast as you can, and I can help you do that. So how would you like to buy Tesla at $3 like I did back in the old days. How would you like to buy Apple at 25 cents? I still have that stock. How would you like to buy Amazon at $5? Well, if you'd done those trades, you would have done quite well. Tesla went up 37,000%. If you bought the stock, you get the car for free, and I'm actually on my third Tesla right now. Apple went up 61,000%, and Amazon only went up 68,000%. How did those do on the charts? Well, there's Tesla hit 1,250 last week and then backed off when Elon Musk sold his $7 billion worth. And there's Apple, 25 cents to 148, looks pretty good, doesn't it? And Amazon, $5 to $3,335, looks like a winner to me. And by the way, I did work with Jeff Bezos when he ran the research department for bonds at Morgan Stanley. So our connection goes back quite a long ways. Bitcoin, in the meantime, how did it do? Up 63,000%. That is something to talk about. In fact, someone gave me, Bitcoin. They gave me 10 Bitcoin in 2011 when they were worth $1. And I thought, well, this is a fun game to engage in. Let's see what happens here. And they went from $1 to $100 in like 2 years. And I thought, wow, how many times in your life do you buy something and it goes up 100 times? So I sold my Bitcoin at $100, took everybody in the family out to dinner at the most expensive restaurant in San Francisco. And if I'd kept those Bitcoin, they would be worth, about $630 million. Oh, well, easy come, easy go. So my Bitcoin experience has been very positive from the very beginning. So if you miss the entry points, you now have another shot. Buy Bitcoin today, but dollar cost average. I tell people, if you're going to put $1,000 into it, divide it into 20 $50 pieces, put in $50 a day over a period of a month, and you'll end up with a nice average price over the month. And if you're even luckier, you'll keep buying into a rising market and increasing your position. As a miner, I can tell you that the day-to-day short-term moves in Bitcoin are totally random. New Bitcoin is released into the network every 10 minutes, and nobody knows what the other guy is going to do next. So the goal is to get a good average price to catch the next leg up. Of course, everybody in the industry knows about the Primordial Pizza. In 2010, Laszlo Hanyecz bought 2 pieces in New York City for 10,000 Bitcoin, worth about $10. It was known as the first ever commercial transaction involving Bitcoin. Then Bitcoin was worth 1/10 of a cent. So there were 10 Bitcoins to the penny. If Laszlo had kept the Bitcoin today, his Bitcoin would be worth $620 million. Instead, he makes a handy living speaking at Bitcoin conferences, telling people how we let $620 million get away. These became the most expensive pizzas in history. I hope they were really good, although Papa John's, I'm not so sure. So this is the 90,000-foot view on crypto. I know you're hearing a lot of news about crypto. It's all very confusing. It's kind of unbelievable, but this is where we stand. With a total market cap of $2 trillion, which has since increased to $3 trillion, crypto has become too big to fail. Greater regulation will bring in more traditional institutional investors and central banks, driving prices higher. SEC approval of the futures ETF BITO, B-I-T-O, weeks ago opened up a $40 trillion into Bitcoin investment. That's because all companies regulated by the Investment Company Act of 1940 are now allowed to buy Bitcoin. So that was a major development in kind of opening the gates to the broader investment industry. It is the ultimate play on global liquidity, inflation, and a collapsing dollar, which continues to run out of control. Its adoption was greatly accelerated by the pandemic, as were all new digital technologies. Ultimately, Bitcoin could rise 50 times from current levels, equaling the entire value of the global money supply. In fact, in the future, Bitcoin may be the global money supply when all countries go digital, and some, like El Salvador, already have. So let's go flying for a minute. Who is John Thomas? Well, if you're going to spend the next few minutes with me, then it's good to find out who I am. Let's see. I have 53 years of experience in the global financial markets. Oops, what happened there? Let's start all over again. And Oop, that keeps jumping. We may have a bandwidth problem here. 53 years of experience in the global financial markets, 10 years as the economist correspondent in Tokyo, Japan, and later the White House, 10 years running the international equity division at Morgan Stanley, Marine Corps combat pilot in Desert Storm, 10 years running the first international dedicated hedge fund, 5 years fracking for natural gas in Texas, 14 years publishing the Diary of a Mad Hedge Fund Trader. I am one of a handful of founders of the modern hedge fund industry. Take my half-century of trading experience and add it to your own. Learn from my trading mistakes so you don't have to repeat them, and believe me, there have been plenty of them. Oh, and if you ever need a ride in a 100-year-old biplane over the Pacific Ocean, I'm your guy. This particular biplane starred in the 1930 classic Howard Hughes film, Hell's Angels. So if you're going to spend the next hour with me, it's best to find out who I am. My family origins are very humble. Growing up as the oldest of 7 children on a remote farm in Southern California, I lived the all-American childhood playing Little League baseball and becoming an Eagle Scout. There wasn't much to do in rural California in the old days except hunting, so I picked up a job as a paper boy for the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner. I found the stock pages, bought IBM at 20 and sold it at 30, and suddenly found a far better way to make money than delivering newspapers off the back of a bicycle. By the time I was 16, I earned enough money to fly to Europe. By the age of 17, I had visited more than 50 countries and spoke 4 languages. And that's one of the first newspapers I delivered covering the Kennedy assassination in 1963. At UCLA, I majored in math and DNA research, which landed me a job at the nuclear test site in Nevada. Their yield didn't mean interest paid, but millions of Russians killed. I didn't see a future in that, so the government sent me to Southeast Asia for a few years of intelligence missions where I learned how to fly and jump out of perfectly good airplanes. There I advised the militaries of America's Asian allies. As the war wound down, I became a foreign correspondent for The Economist magazine in London. When they learned I had a math degree, they switched me over to covering the Asian economy and the stock market. Ta-da, entered the stock market. After 10 years of government service, all I got was this box of medals, which I trot out once a year on Veterans Day. And of course, in those days, doing research meant carrying a 45 caliber Sten gun, which used to reliably jam on every 6th shot. As a foreign correspondent, I covered China during the Cultural Revolution, was the first American reporter to visit North Korea since the Korean War. If you're wondering why I'm so skinny in this picture, it's because there was a famine going on in China where 50 million people died. The Chinese still, to this day, are trying to keep that secret. I also covered the continent all the way to India. That's me on Saipan, 25 years after World War II, and there wasn't much to do in Saipan in those days, so we used to find unexploded bombs, set fire to them, and run like hell. That's considered a good Saturday night out in Saipan. I figured out very quickly you didn't have to be that smart to make money in the stock market, so I got into the industry, joining Morgan Stanley. After 10 years there, I started my own hedge fund. And yes, the years have been cruel. This is my 1983 ID card from Morgan Stanley. I look like a little kid there. That's me losing the All Japan National Karate Championships. Warning, do not enter a karate final with a broken wrist, which I did, and it hurt like hell. I rapidly became the top performing hedge fund of the 1990s, eventually bringing in a 1,000% return in a decade. Then the money really started to pour in. It's an understatement to say that when your income goes from the thousands to the tens of millions, it really has a big impact on your lifestyle. You get to do things like buy the latest hot car, fly your own private plane around Europe, go marlin fishing in Mexico, and collect vintage Rolls Royces for fun and profit. I sold my hedge fund in 2000, retired to go into the oil and gas industry. After making a killing there, I missed the stock market and started to do the Diary of a Mad Hedge Fund Trader in 2008. I now spend my days pursuing my first love, finding winning trade alerts, but I now do it from my 3 mansions in San Francisco, Lake Tahoe, and Zermatt, Switzerland. And I've quit turning millionaires into billionaires. There is far more satisfaction leveling the playing field for the average guy and teaching them how to trade. And that includes you. If I can take a $50,000 account and turn it into $500,000, that is more job satisfaction than I could ever get anywhere else. And my home in Zermatt is right at the foot of the Matterhorn, where you really get some spectacular views. I'm also on search and rescue there in case any Americans get stuck on the edge of the Matterhorn. I have to go up there and talk them down. Of course, every silver lining has a cloud. In 2020, I ended up paying $8.2 million in taxes on $20 million in trading revenues, kind of the same problem that Elon Musk has, but on a much smaller scale. It is a nice problem to have, by the way. In the little free time I have left, I pursue my other love, flying vintage aircraft on weekends. If you see an old plane flying loops over San Francisco or London these days, it's probably me. As a Marine Corps veteran, I volunteer for grief counseling for widows and orphans, and am a major donor to wounded warriors. When the wildfires hit California, I visited the main evacuation centers and handed out $10,000 worth of Target gift cards. So what is Bitcoin anyway? What's all the hubbub about? Well, it is a unique piece of computer code that you alone own. It can be bought, sold, or parked in a deposit account. Bitcoin does not pay interest or dividends, nor exist in any physical form. The outstanding value of all cryptocurrencies has soared from a few $1,000s in 2009 to over $3 trillion today. The amount of Bitcoin that'll ever be issued is limited compared to the US dollar, where the amount to be issued is unlimited. This is not your father's Bitcoin. The early days were plagued with hackers, theft, con men, and frequent 80% declines. I think there were about 5 of them. Since 2014, multiple network upgrades has been made it respectable, safer, and more secure. And by the way, the latest upgrade, the latest fork just happened this weekend, where Bitcoin was made easier to use with third-party apps, greater security, and so on. So it is a constantly evolving currency, and all of the miners, including myself, are allowed to vote on the changes. 51% vote implements all changes that are suggested. The larger the value, the more the security and regulation, and that is certainly happening with Bitcoin. That's a picture of me on Guadalcanal, the World War II battlefield, with a shot down American Bearcat fighter. Bitcoin accounts for 60% of all the crypto ever issued. The rest is in Ethereum, Cardano, Ethereum, and other altcoins. 60% of all the coins ever issued ceased to exist. The websites are no longer supported. People just sold their Bitcoin and then disappeared. Not very nice. All altcoin prices can double in one day and go to zero the next. And both of these have happened this year. Size, liquidity, and safety is all in Bitcoin, where the institutional participation is growing by leaps and bounds. So where did Bitcoin come from? Well, they're not delivered by the stork like you and I. Miners search for unique blocks of mathematical equations expressed in computer code, effectively copyright them, and then sell them to the Bitcoin network. And of course, they're paid back with Bitcoin for doing this. The current cost of mining a Bitcoin now is about $15,000. The main expenses are labor for the developers and electricity. If you take all of the electricity consumed by Bitcoin miners in the world today, it about equals all the electricity used by the state of Washington in a year. In other words, it's quite a lot. It is a very time, power, and storage intensive process. Costs about $15,000 per Bitcoin now, so that's your ultimate floor in any big sell-off. Just like gold used to never spend much time below its mining cost, which now is around $1,200 an ounce. 18.78 Bitcoin have been mined so far, or about 900 a day, with a final limit of only 21 million Bitcoin allowed by the code by 2041. 83% of all the Bitcoin ever to be mined is already in the marketplace. The code has a big structural shortage engineered into it. Short of supply can only mean higher prices. Most miners were in China, but after a government crackdown there, most miners are now migrating to the United States, thus raising the cost of production and therefore the market price. What is blockchain? You hear that term a lot too. Blockchain is a decentralized digital ledger system made of hashtags or giant blocks of code that keeps track of who owns what in the Bitcoin universe. It stores all the unique codes created by independent miners. It is hosted by 20,000 independently owned computers called nodes, one of which is the mad hedge fund trader. Nodes are fully transparent and visible to all to keep the system honest. Blockchain technology underlying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are a game changer for a large number of industries, from shipping and supply chains to banking and healthcare. By removing intermediaries from computer networks, distributed ledgers can facilitate new types of economic activity that were not possible before, and they are totally frictionless. There is no cost at all in moving Bitcoin around the entire Bitcoin network. Unlike, Western Union that charges you 10%, or American Express that charges you 3% for running up a charge. Cryptocurrencies are built using blockchain technology. Blockchain describes the way transactions are recorded into blocks and are timestamped. The result is a digital ledger of cryptocurrency transactions that is impossible for hackers to tamper with. Transactions require a unique two-factor authentication process that will drive you nuts if you go in and out of it a lot. For example, you might be asked to enter a username and password to start a transaction. Then you might have to enter an authentication code that's sent via text to your personal cell phone. So it's kind of a double-blind system, which basically makes the security impossible to crack. Bitcoin can be converted into any other currency at any time, such as the US dollar, the euro, or the Australian dollar, using a number of third-party apps that will do this for you. It can be broken down into fractional units to pay for day-to-day purchases, such as through PayPal. Your first Bitcoin transaction can be for as little as $10. And my first Bitcoin transaction was for $10, and it went up. So the next one was for 100, then 1,000, and then 10,000. It kept making money. So I kept adding zeros to every transaction. And eventually I was buying $1 million slugs of Bitcoin and watching it double. Not a bad game to be involved in, I have to tell you. PayPal and Square announced they were accepting Bitcoin and 5 other cryptocurrencies for investment and settlement of purchases, greatly enhancing its acceptance as a digital currency. So how's Bitcoin done versus gold? Well, the final supply of gold is infinite, while Bitcoin is fixed at 21 million. Physical transfers of gold is risky, tedious, and expensive, while Bitcoin is digital and is moved with the click of a mouse. Gold is heavy, while Bitcoin is weightless. Bitcoin is essentially made of electrons, is rapidly replacing gold as a hedge and flight to safety instrument, rising 650% in the last year, compared to a loss in gold of 8%. Wow, what a difference that is. There's the chart for gold for the last year, essentially dead on changed on the year now, and whereas Bitcoin has gone up really 10 times in the last year with all the charts updated now. So there are risks in Bitcoin. In the early days, half of all Bitcoin was stolen at any given time. System network problems were solved in 2014. All losses are now traced to phishing attacks on individuals to obtain personal logins and passwords. If you leave your cell phone in the back of a phone with your hot wallet key in there, you will lose all your money. And a favorite phishing attack is for you to get an email from Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo. It says urgent security account, regarding your account. It looks like exactly like it came from your bank. You click on the link, you log in, put in your ID and password, and then the hackers have your ID and password, and they can use that to access your Coinbase account or anywhere else where you're holding Bitcoin. So that is where all the Bitcoin stolen is going now. It's not from people who exercise careful security on the internet. By the way, you should be doing this not just for Bitcoin, but for everything you do online. There is no Bitcoin customer support. Brokers can't help you either in a phishing attack. In response, Mad Hedge Fund Trader has developed several low-risk, high-return strategies to attack Bitcoin. How does a 200% return in every 6 months sound to you? We've been doing it here. All of our thousands of subscribers are making that kind of money now, and that should continue for many more years to come. If you're interested in making a 200% return in every 6 months, which works out to 400% a year, listen on. If that's not enough for you, maybe you should consider another line of business. There is plenty of ways to mitigate your risk in Bitcoin. US expert firewall intermediaries are the answer, and that is a mouthful to say, but we can show you how to do it. All you need to know how to do is have electricity, turn on your computer, log into your account or your email, and we will show you everything you need to do to make fortunes in Bitcoin. It really is that easy. You can set up a Coinbase account in 5 minutes and be in the Bitcoin market immediately. Many stocks and ETFs have security resources you can only dream about and are essentially theft-proof. Let the middleman take all the hacking risk while tracking Bitcoin by 96%. We have lots of examples of that happening. Crypto wallets are a place to store your Bitcoin and come in hot and cold versions. Cold wallets are on a personal device like a laptop or a hard drive or a thumb drive, and they are not connected to the internet and unhackable. A lot of people keep them in safe deposit boxes, safes, and so on. This is where you store your key code unique to your own Bitcoin holdings. This can be skipped by going with a secure Bitcoin intermediary like a broker's account or an ETF. Ransomware attacks have also become a major source of Bitcoin demand. Most US companies now are keeping $5 to $10 million worth of Bitcoin on their books so they can pay off hackers who shut down their operations. All the payments are paid in Bitcoin. In May this year, Colonial Pipeline was shut down for a week cutting off the US East Coast gasoline supply until a $5 million ransom was paid. Most large US companies are now keeping many millions worth of Bitcoin on the books to make quick payments in a hurry. So the first Bitcoin ETF ever issued happened in Canada, which is regulation light. And that was the BTCC.to. And there you buy the ETF. The ETF buys physical Bitcoin and you own Bitcoin through that ETF. This has worked extremely well. Here is a chart for the last 6 months on the Purpose Bitcoin ETF, as it is called, and it has essentially matched the rise in Bitcoin over during this time period, essentially doubling in 6 months. This is the last double I managed to get, buying in July and holding on to today. By the way, I'm holding on for 100,000 by the end of the year, which is up 40% from here before I do any of my selling. Here's Bitcoin during the same time, almost exactly the same chart. So who is Satoshi Nakamoto? And Nakamoto is a Japanese name. It means in the village. I am not Satoshi Nakamoto, by the way. He is a person or a group of people who wrote the original 2009 white paper describing Bitcoin. He or they oversee rule changes regarding the tens of thousands of Bitcoin miners. I personally think Satoshi Nakamoto is actually an acronym for the CIA or the National Security Agency. Wouldn't the government like to know all the financial transactions in the world? I think that was originally the purpose for this. But in any case, it seems to be working. Bitcoin is the end of the natural evolution with money. We started with barter. I'll give you a bushel of wheat or 10 bushels of wheat for your cow. And then we got gold and gold coins. There are coins from the Roman Empire still in circulation 2,000 years later. Then we got paper money. I think that was a French invention. Then plastic debit and credit cards. Then electronic money like PayPal accounts, even Starbucks points are considered digital money, and airline frequent flyer points. And now we have cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin has been adopted faster than the internet, smartphones, becoming a major asset class in only 12 years. Emerging economies such as Vietnam, India, and Pakistan, with the weakest currencies, have led the crypto adoption. This essentially means that it is a global phenomenon already, with capital pouring in from all corners of the world. If you find a country which has a restricted currency or a currency with no central bank backing, you'll find that crypto there is very popular. And in fact, until recently, cryptocurrencies were a major way for wealthy people in China to launder money out of the country and end up in my neighborhood or your neighborhood or anywhere else where they're buying land. Bitcoin grew in popularity and gained more acceptance. Users began to notice some of its shortcomings. As a result, alternative cryptocurrencies, referred to as altcoins, were launched to fix its perceived flaws in areas such as privacy, transaction speed, DNS resolution, proof of stake, and power consumption, among others. Today, some of the most popular altcoins are Ethereum, Cardano, Ripple, Zcash, Litecoin, Monero, Avalanche, Dash, and of course, Dogecoin, made popular by Elon Musk, who was a major buyer. There are now currently more than 1,500 cryptocurrencies online. High net worth Wells Fargo clients can now get Bitcoin and crypto exposure. Investment Research Division of Wells Fargo Wealth and Investment Management implemented and actively managed Bitcoin and crypto strategy for its qualified investors. The firm's wealth and investment management arm oversees about $2 trillion in assets, making them among the largest wealth managers in the United States. President of Wells Fargo Investment Institute said, we think the cryptocurrency space has just kind of hit an evolution and maturation of its development that allows it now to be a viable investable asset. The printing presses are running wild all over the world. The US Federal Reserve has been printing new money at a 30% annual rate to stimulate the economy after the pandemic. Just a matter of time before massive overissuance created high inflation and devaluation of the US dollar. Bitcoin will appreciate at the dollar's expense. Bitcoin is the new flight to safety currency. And let me look at my treasury short, and it looks like it's getting absolutely hammered today. So I'll keep speaking and run my short. In fact, the more regulation, the better. Regulation means more consumer protection, better accounting standards, and draws in major institutional investors. Holding cryptocurrencies is one of the best ways to protect yourself from the coming devaluation of the US dollar. The end result will be a precipitous decline in the purchasing power for most Americans. This is not new. It's been going on for centuries. It's been going on for 226 years in the US. It's been going on for 400 years in European countries like France and England. We are in the process of de-risking crypto, and this journey will eventually remove the volatility out of this asset class. This will happen once adoption accelerates. More stability brings less volatility and larger amounts of investment capital. Global fixed income markets have 150 trillion in there, yielding near zero or negative interest rates, and that money is going to look for a new home. Bitcoin is the only place to go. Bond purchasing power is also going to zero, and it's happening across many countries. The value of a 30-year 0% government bond over the next 30 years means that you'll only have about 20% of your purchasing power at the end of that 20 years. The same is true for all 0% yielding government bonds wherever they're issued. Companies are cashing in on this by issuing corporate bonds and then piling that money into cryptocurrencies looking for asset appreciation. And that has worked fantastically well for the companies that have done this, like MSTR, MicroStrategy, and Mara, which is a Bitcoin miner. The end result is that cryptocurrencies are now integrated into the balance sheets of some of the most prominent public companies such as Tesla, PayPal, and Square. There's also a huge millennial effect going on with cryptocurrency. Millennials are growing into the biggest spending years and continue to believe that the key to securing their future is investing in cryptocurrencies. Millennials will see the great wealth creation of any generation over the next decade. They are already the largest buyers in the stock market. And you see that in the meme stocks like AMC and other stocks that have been run up tremendously in literally days. Nearly half of all millennial millionaires have at least 25% of their wealth invested in cryptocurrencies. The results highlight a new generational divide in wealth creation from crypto, with younger investors able to earn vast fortunes from the surge in the prices of crypto. Millennial crypto buyers could outnumber Gen X buyers by 15 times and boomer buyers by 62 times. I only know one other boomer buyer of crypto, and he's older than me, but he races dragsters for a living. There is a big generational difference on who buys crypto. Millennials account for 76.46% of all crypto buying. After that, you have the Gen Zs, the 18 to 24 group, 17%, Gen Xers, about 5%, and baby boomers are only about 2% of all crypto buying. And guess who's the fastest growing group in this batch? It's the millennials, the 25 to 40-year-olds. There's no going back from here. In March, Morgan Stanley was the first among banks to offer Bitcoin funds to its clients. Goldman Sachs quickly followed with an announcement of its own. Cultural divides will no longer be defined by red or blue states, white or blue collar professions, educated or uneducated people, but crypto earners versus non-crypto owners. If you're competing to buy a house against a crypto owner, you are toast, because they have access to almost unlimited money. More than 60% of Robinhood users traded crypto in the second quarter of this year, and it accounted for 233 million of its total revenues. 62% of that was in Dogecoin, which is an altcoin, in revenue compared to 5 million in Q2 2020, according to its quarterly earnings report. These are some of the big institutional investors in crypto. A lot of them are some of my old clients from my Morgan Stanley days, Standard Chartered, UBS, which I used to work for, Morgan Stanley I used to work for, JP Morgan Chase, and so on. So don't miss a golden chance to create multi-generational wealth. We have entered the exponential growth phase of Bitcoin prices. We could go up 40% by the end of the year and 10 times in the next 5 years. Bitcoin, with its 21 million cap, is often touted as the ultimate inflation hedge. This is because increasing demand for the crypto asset will never cause total supply to exceed the magic 21 million coin limit. And again, with inflation heating up, hitting 6.2% last week, a 30-year high, having a big inflation hedge is a good thing to have. Of course, the other great inflation hedge is your home that you live in if you own it. Bitcoin bulls are back in charge, and the handoff couldn't have come at a better time for cryptocurrency investors. Bitcoin has risen 6 times to 10 times in a year and has rallied more than 130% since mid-July. The rally has put the wind in the back of the sails of the market that continues to prove its resilience in the face of any and ever headwinds. The momentum trade is on. The cold hard truth is that since 2021, many young people have put 90% of their liquid net worth into Bitcoin. The so-called generational divide is playing out as we speak, in which the baby boomers are missing out. In the meantime, we believe that Bitcoin is the riskiest asset out there, which would hardly be the truth anymore. So these are our in-house Bitcoin targets. We're looking for 100,000 by the end of 2021, up 41%. We're looking for 500,000 in 2025 as Bitcoin demand and legitimacy and inflation grows. Then ask me again, because we'll be entering uncharted waters, is a 10-term return in 5 years enough for you? I am highly bullish for both the short term and the long term. Crypto mainstream is here, and that is not going away. So you better get involved or get out of the investing business. So do you want to buy Bitcoin before or after $40 trillion hits the Bitcoin market? Do you want to buy before or after Bitcoin tops 100,000? You know, the time to take action is now. Get on the train before it leaves the station. So we are offering the Mad Hedge Bitcoin service. This is the one-stop Bitcoin shop. It's the only place in the world where you can get the complete education you need to make you a Bitcoin expert so you can invest with confidence. It gives you the assistance you need to execute your trades, personal customer support to answer every question, get the inside track you need from a top Bitcoin network member and mode like me. With our Bitcoin service, you get a 120-page Mad Hedge guide to Bitcoin trading, which I wrote personally, which was just published a few weeks ago and has instantly become a bestseller. You get 24-hour customer service around the world to assist you with your first Bitcoin trades over the phone. Instant trade alerts sent out at market sweet spots and all the reasons to execute them. Hedge Bitcoin Market Timing Index to dictate entry and entry points for Bitcoin trades. And so far, it's never made a mistake. And 3 times weekly newsletters updating you on all things crypto. And that's me in Las Vegas last week doing some deep research on the subject. You also get the Hedge Guide to Trading Bitcoin, an encyclopedia of all things crypto. It will answer every crypto question you could possibly have in plain, easy to understand English. You also get our market timing index. You can see basically a perfect record so far on timing both buys and sells in the Bitcoin market. Remember, Bitcoin is at all-time highs now, but it spent 7 months going down this year. And if you were in there during that halving, it was quite a miserable life. So, but we caught the bottom in July, and since then we've been buying every dip. You also get the Hedge Bitcoin letter 3 times a week, and it kind of fills you in on the deep background behind what you're actually doing, as well as a lot of the latest changes in the Bitcoin network. You also get Hedge Hot Tips, which covers all markets and tells you the 5 most important things that happen every day. Like today, we finally got completion of the latest fork in Bitcoin. So let me make the money for you to pay for your own subscription. You make the trades, discover how an experienced Bitcoin trader and miner finds and exploits the best sweet spots in the crypto market. This is what I'm not going to charge you for this service. I'm not going to charge you $100,000. That's what I charge my big hedge fund clients, and they're happy to pay up because I make them millions of dollars. I'm not going to charge you $10,000 for this service. That's what I charge my concierge customers who get my personal cell phone number so I can be their investment 911. And I'm not going to charge you $7,000. That's the lowest price we have for our Bitcoin service. Not for you. Creating this product cost me millions of dollars and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. With the best customer service in the industry running, it cost me millions more. Today, and only for this webinar, we're going to charge you just $995, and that is actually a 15%, I got a typo here, actually 75% discount to our full website price. Just click on the link in the chat box on the right. That will take you to our dedicated sales page, which is only available today. This is the one-stop Bitcoin shop. It is the only place in the world where you can get the complete education you need to make you a certified Bitcoin expert so you can invest with confidence. It gives you the assistance you need to execute your own trades, personal-based customer support, 24/7 around the world to answer every question, get the inside track you need from a Bitcoin network member and node. I can only take 25 new subscribers at a time, so it's first come, first serve. I can't wait to make you a top Bitcoin trader. Click on the chat box on the right. Buy now and you will instantly receive a trade alert with an extremely high probability of success that you can execute immediately and make some of the most serious money in your life. Don't leave good money on the table. 95% of these trade alerts make money, and in the case of Bitcoin, it's more like 100%. Let's go back in the air and see what we have here. When you make millions of dollars for your clients, you get a lot of pretty interesting invitations. $5,000 cases of wine, lunches on super yachts, free tickets to the Olympics, and dates with movie stars. So it was in that spirit that I made my way down to famed beachside community of Malibu, California, to meet longtime Hedge follower Richard Seiler. Richard is a man after my own heart, plowing his millions in trading profits into a ground-up restoration of a 1929 Travel Air D4D biplane. This particular plane is quite famous because it was featured in a 1930 war movie, Hell's Angels, which won an Academy Award. However, Richard had to buy 20 other travel airs to get the parts he needed to return this one plane to flying condition. The modernized plane has a 300 horsepower engine, carries 62 gallons of fuel, and can fly 550 miles. Since I am one of the few living tailwheel qualified pilots left in America, Richard was happy to let me fly the plane for an afternoon where me and my kids buzzed the surfers on the California coast. Let me make millions of dollars for you as well as I have done for thousands of followers over the last 14 years. I look forward to working with all of you. And this is the same exact plane in the 1930 Howard Hughes movie, Hell's Angels, with a slightly better paint job. So here's the offer you can't refuse today and only through this webinar. 6 months of the Mad Hedge Bitcoin letter for $995. Just click on the link on the chat box on the right, and I can see that the orders have already started to pile in. So we have Bill from San Diego, California. Thank you very much, Bill. I promise to work hard for your money, and I can tell you now, you just made the best investment you ever made, and that is an investment in yourself, in your own education about Bitcoin. We have Paul from New York City who just came in here. And let me see, let's go through the list. Paul, thank you very much. Promise to work hard for your money. And you should get the trade alert in your inbox right now. Check your inbox. You should have the trade alert. The market is still open, so you can execute that trade right now. And if you don't find it in your inbox, it may be in your spam folder. So take a look there. With new customers, often our responses end up in the spam folder. So we'll sort that out if you can't find our alerts, but in any case, well done. Look forward to working with you. We have Paul from Tampa Bay, Florida, just came in. Thanks a lot, Paul. Okay, we just had a bunch more come in. We have Lewis from Houston, Texas. We have Jim from Kansas City, Kansas. We have Mary from Bemidji, Minnesota. I went there to Bemidji once. That's where they have the giant Paul Bunyan. Okay, we have another one from, let's see here, Salt Lake City, Utah just came in. That is Harold from Salt Lake City. Okay, let's open a few more of these and see what we've got. Okay, we have here, we have a Hosea coming in from Portland, Oregon. Good job, Hosea. We'll check your inbox to make sure you have your trade alert and get it in right now before the market closes. Okay, well, I think I'm just about done. David, can you hear me?
Yes, great presentation.
Well, thank you very much. And thanks, for inviting me, and look forward to having a dinner with you again next year in Las Vegas.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Unless you want to come to San Francisco or Lake Tahoe or Zermatt, Switzerland first.
Yeah, I will let you know if I'm in any of those locations. Yeah.
Okay, well, you carry on with the summit. And again, thank you very much for inviting me.
All right. Thanks, John.
Okay, bye-bye.